right, Paige is going to give a speech today, and we have an audience with us. Paige.
Hello, I'm Paige Swanson, and I'll be speaking about the neurobiological effects that meditation has to do on the brain. Did you know that the military is using meditation for soldiers who have been diagnosed with PTSD? Over the past 9 years, 2 million Americans have entered the Afghan and Iraq war and have been diagnosed with PTSD. PTSD develops after a terrifying physical and psychological harm that has been placed on another. Usually, to treat PTSD, you use drugs and other therapy, but that doesn't always work. Thankfully, there's a completely natural method that is meditation. Eastern practice has been using meditation for over 1,000 years, and thanks to an upheaval in the 1960s due to positive psychology, it's now being used in Western society and utilized in healthcare settings. Meditation has a lot of impact on psychological and physiological effects. It helps with depression, anxiety, insomnia, as well as physiological effects like chronic pain and fibromyalgia. I myself meditate sometimes, and even though I don't have PTSD or depression, it really helps me because I think all of us can agree that life is stressful and that sometimes you need a good coping mechanism. In this speech, I want to talk about really the neurobiological effects that meditation has on the brain. I would like to inform you about the specific areas of the brain that become active when you meditate, as well as explain how the brain legitimately changes when you meditate. If meditation can help with coping with symptoms of disability and chronic disease, as well as are better than prescribed medication and therapy, meditation literally has the ability to change your brain. So first off, I want to talk about the areas of the brain that become active when you meditate. According to Andrew Newberg, a neuroscientist, he would say that when you begin meditation and you start to focus, the frontal lobe of the brain becomes active. The frontal lobe of the brain is basically your higher thinking processes. It has to do with focus and regulation. The prefrontal cortex is also something that becomes active, and that has to do with that too. During all this, the limbic system is something that becomes active as well, and this has to do with emotional regulation. In the limbic system, you have the amygdala and the hippocampus. The amygdala deals with your ability to handle stress, and the hippocampus has to deal with your ability to control your emotion and your learning. As well as through all this, the thalamus is something that becomes active as well. The thalamus is your sensory perceptions. So basically, it's what you perceive and how you experience your meditation. A lot of people say that sometimes they get like a godlike experience or consciousness. I like to think that when you receive that kind of consciousness, that your thalamus is working in that part of the brain. Something that I thought was really interesting was the parietal lobe. The parietal lobe has to deal with your orientation, like your timing and your reasoning. Something that happens during meditation is your parietal lobe is kind of being blocked by sensory adapters. Which is really interesting because I also think about the atomic system, which is your body and how you feel. A lot of people say that they get a sense of calmness and overwhelming ecstasy. I like to think of monks levitating, and I kind of sort of think the blockage of the parietal lobe is how they're able to do that. So now that I've explained how the brain works while you meditate, I kind of want to go into how the brain works after you meditate, kind of how you change it. Sarah Lazarus would say that these changes take place because of a thing called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is kind of like juggling. It's basically, if you do it over and over and over again, you'll change it. And one of her researchers, she took a group of non-meditative people and put them basically on an 8-week meditative cleanse. And what she found was that during this cleanse, there was increased activity in the left hippocampus, which assists with learning and memory and emotion regulation. People who don't have a lot of activity in this area usually have depression and PTSD. Another thing she found that was really interesting was that with the decrease of stress, the amygdala, which is in your emotional control, which is in your limbic system, the amygdala actually shrinks. And that during this 8-week cleanse, she saw the before and after pictures of the people, and the amygdala actually shrunk, showing that the brain legitimately changes when you meditate. So what does this all have to do with me and you, and people who have mental illnesses and physical illnesses? Well, I think that meditation can help improve your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. The number one thing meditation helps with people with is stress. There's been studies on cancer patients of women who have breast cancer, and they say that the number one thing they attribute to their cancer over environmental factors and anything else is stress. During meditation, basically, all of these things that I'd explained to you, they work to lower your ability for fear, they work to lower your anxiety, and they also work to lower your stress, which I believe is kind of like the underlying root to a lot of illnesses. So the bottom line, meditation is an opportunity for the brain to strengthen and enhance itself. It's like a drill, which makes sense as to why the military are using it for their soldiers. Jon Kabat-Zinn said, "Meditation is simplicity itself. It's about stopping and being present. That is all." While the practice of meditation might not be complex, the brain is. Many people suffer from stress-related symptoms, whether it's anxiety, depression, PTSD, or anything else. Why complicate your life more with dangerous and non-holistic medications? When you have one of the biggest tools in the medical dictionary there is, your brain. By understanding the way your brain works while meditating, you will understand the positive neurological changes that take place during meditation and how it can help improve your overall quality of life. Meditation can be practiced at any time, in any situation. And every moment you can choose to bring your attention back to the present and know that when you do, you are actively involved in shaping your brain to foster more peace and inner ease. Namaste.